the perfect ride for you today with the New Year New Ride sales event at Guam Auto Spot. Get behind the wheel of the 2024 Outlander Sport starting at just $22,995 or only $156 per paycheck. Visit GuamAutospot.com or call 671-478-AUTO.
Buy fuel, get Wendy's. Drive to your nearest 76 Circle K and get free Wendy's. Yes, free. Fuel up with $30 and score your choice of a 6-piece crispy chicken nuggets or a juicy junior cheeseburger deluxe. Fresh, hot, and packed with flavor. But hurry, quantities are limited and this delicious deal won't last long. So hit the road to 76 Circle K, fuel up, and get Wendy's free before it's gone.
Head on over to Cold Stone on these hot days for that classic soda shop feel, but make it with ice cream. Try Cold Stone Guam's new limited time creation or float today. That's the Root Beer Revival Creation with root beer ice cream, chocolate chips, caramel, and whipped topping, or go with the float with root beer ice cream, root beer, whipped topping, and a maraschino cherry. I think I'm going to try this tomorrow. Only here for a limited time, so visit them at their Micronesia Mall and GPO locations today. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
It's me, Wednesday Addams. I regret to inform you that I have devised the meal of misfortune with Wendy's. Normally, I'd be against this type of capitalistic corporate synergy. But when the other pigtailed provocateur said I could concoct my own Frosty, I melted. My meal is tribute to the suffering that awaits us all. It's pure torture for your taste buds, with 4 nightmarish dips of dread. Don't waste my time asking which ones you'll get. You must surrender to your fate. Enjoy the anguish.
Dare to try? Something new? Life's too short!
You gotta chill with the snackable drink.
Life is too short. Hey, you gotta chill.
Mogu Mogu.
Moku Moku!
Kandit News is brought to you by 76 Circle K.
Good evening, my dear friends. It is 8:23 p.m. on Thursday, August 28, 2025. You know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow is the 64th birthday of my old boss, one of the best managers I've ever had, former Governor Eddie Calvo. So if you see him tomorrow, if you see him on social media, don't forget to wish Governor Eddie Calvo a happy birthday on August 29. Anyway, my name is Troy Torres. Let's get straight to it. I haven't done the written story yet, and it's because I'm tired. I'll do it tomorrow. But I thought, it's faster for me to just do this live show, this editorial on it anyway. It's where I wanted to go with it. So remember a few months ago, and for the past, I think we've written a couple stories about this. There is a guy named Patrick Alvarez who was busted and pleaded guilty under seal in federal court in 2021 to drug and firearms charges. and how when we were following his case earlier this year, when things were starting to be unsealed in his case earlier this year, we found an interesting document in one of the continuances showing that Patrick Alvarez had begun to cooperate with the FBI. Remember, as we told you the story here at Kandit. Matter of fact, I think we're the only news organization that has told this story so far. I'm really waiting for the others to get on this story because it's tied directly to the Tenorio corruption case, and it provides a nexus between drug trafficking and this Tenorio corruption case. It's just such a big story that I don't understand why nobody else is doing it yet. Well, anyway, so don't mind me. I have a Halls in my mouth. So in one of the continuances, it says that Patrick Alvarez is cooperating with the FBI on this big case that they have. And this is a drug case. The Patrick Alvarez case, it's a drug case. It's just DEA, ATF. You know, normally drug cases are either DEA together with ATF or DEA by itself, DEA and HSI and ATF, task force with, you know, maybe some local officers who join a federal task force and they help out, they augment resources and all that stuff, right? Not the FBI. The FBI, they do other things, okay? So when we saw FBI, we were like, what is this? What's going on in this Alvarez case, right? And then a continuance later, continuance happens every 3 months in federal court normally. So 3 months later, another continuance happens. And that continuance says that Patrick Alvarez was instrumental in securing federal warrants 95 and 96 in 2024. And we recognize that. We recognize what warrants 95 and 96 were. Those were 2 of the 3 warrants used to build the case against Charissa Tenorio and the Tenorio corruption case that led to the June 25, 2025 indictments by the federal grand jury. And the continuance said that Patrick Alvarez was assisting the FBI and had provided such substantial assistance that it led to these warrants. And then later this year, more of the documents in the Alvarez case were unsealed, and including the plea agreement, which shows that he is awaiting to be a witness in an upcoming federal trial. It doesn't say what trial it is, but it also talks about this plea agreement and the documents associated with the case also provide a little more detail as to what it was that connected the Alvarez drug trafficking case to Charissa Tenorio directly into the Tenorio corruption case. And according to the federal government, it had something to do with a $38,000 check or cashier's check written from Coast 360. Okay. And we also know that Charissa Tenorio has an account or accounts over at Coast 360. So you're caught up on the background here, right? Who Patrick Alvarez is and why he's important to the Tenorio corruption case. So we just received, I asked for this a long time ago. Department of Administration violated the FOIA way beyond the 4 days, way beyond the 10-day extension, never responded. I had to ask Crystal Pacos and Augustine, the governor's director of communications, to help me in getting the Department of Administration Director, Ed Byrne, to reply to my FOIA. And so they finally did today. Weeks ago, I FOIA'd Patrick Alvarez's GG1s because I had heard that he was a government of Guam employee during the time of the alleged drug trafficking conspiracy, but more importantly, during the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration in a series of unclassified positions. And if you know anything about GovGuam employment, you know that when you say unclassified almost always means. In fact, in my recollection of unclassified employment during the Camacho and the Calvo administrations, it 100% always meant that it was a political appointment, that the people who were being slotted into their jobs were somehow connected to somebody, if not directly connected to the campaign, somehow directly connected to the campaign or to someone connected to the campaign of the sitting governor, or someone who the sitting governor wanted to do a favor for. That's really, I mean, it's yes, most of the people who, in my experience in the Calvo and Camacho administrations, most of the people who were appointed into those unclassified positions were qualified for the job. and did go to work and did do work. I can think of some who didn't, but I'm not going to dwell on that. And let's hope that they learned some work ethic since then. But it's important to note in talking about something like this that the majority of the jobs that Patrick Alvarez had, according to these disclosures, were unclassified jobs. And it started, according to these disclosures, guess where? The PUA agency, Guam Department of Labor, through the National Displaced Worker Grant that was used to hire people to augment the pandemic unemployment assistance. Remember, at the time we didn't have, or still to this day, we didn't have a state unemployment insurance program, and so we had to use certain types of funds. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent here. So Patrick Alvarez was in the vicinity of the PUA program during the time of the alleged Tenorio Corruption Case conspiracy. I don't know if that has anything to do with his being a federal cooperating defendant and witness in the Tenorio Corruption Case. I'm not certain. There's nothing in the documents that say that he is, that his employment in or in the vicinity of the PUA office during the time of the alleged conspiracy has anything to do with his cooperation. We don't know. We don't know if it's money laundering. We don't know if it's drug trafficking. We don't know if it's a direct PUA witnessing thing. We have to wait for the trial or for discovery or for documents to be released through the federal court system in order to be able to know what that is. But what we see, according to these documents, and to stand by for the story, and I'll publish the GG ones from. Carol is asking, can an unclassified position of the government of Guam have a criminal record? Yes, even a classified employee can have a criminal record. There are many people in the government of Guam who have criminal records. They have past, and to the credit of governors present and past, they're giving second chances to people. There are people in the office of the Attorney General who have criminal records. There are people, I'm pretty sure, in the judiciary who have criminal records. I remember running stories about people in the legislature. There was a senator who was getting on her pedestal about people who have criminal records. And I remember doing a story about how that senator had 2 federal convicts working in her staff. I mean, it's just, So, yes, the short answer, Carol, is yes. If you have a criminal record, you can still be a government of Guam employee. There are just, there are things to consider, right? Like, how long ago was the crime? Did the person repay society? Did we make sure we didn't hire a convicted thief into a position involving money? Stuff like that, right? There are all types of considerations that you make tonight. Anyway, but thank you. Very good question, Carol. And it actually, your question goes to the heart of what I wanted to talk about tonight. So, according to these GG1s, he was over at the PUA office, and then he was moved to several positions at the Department of Public Works. And according to my sources, he was then moved either in 2023 or 2024 to an unclassified position at Guam Economic Development Authority. According to the staffing patterns, he remained there until this year. Patrick Alvarez, the federal cooperating defendant that nobody knew he was the federal cooperating defendant and witness against the lieutenant governor's sister, had a government of Guam job in an unclassified position right up until the time the administration found out that he was a federal cooperating defendant and witness against Charissa Tenorio, the lieutenant governor's sister. Think about that and how mind-blowing that is for just a second. This guy has a job. He has a livelihood. He is employed by this administration. Then the administration finds out that he's a witness, he's a cooperating defendant against the lieutenant governor's sister. And all of a sudden, he's no longer in the staffing patterns. He no longer has a job with the administration. All at the same time. Now, Then the question comes up, well, what if they fired him because he has a conviction? And so, Carol, your question becomes very important. Can you have a criminal record and work in the government of Guam? And the answer is yes, you can. Many people do, and they do great jobs too. So it can't possibly be because he has a conviction, because there are so many other people who have convictions who work in the government of Guam. Is it because he's on drugs? Because there's a drug-free workplace policy in the government of Guam? None of the paperwork in Patrick Alvarez's case says that he, since 2021, has been on drugs. In fact, as a condition of his release during this entire time, he had to drug test. And there's nothing in the files that shows that he had failed his drug tests. But if that's the reason, if the connection to drugs, because it's a drug trafficking case, if its vicinity to drugs is the reason, is the official reason he's being terminated, then why is the administration continuing the employment of Tenorio Corruption Case defendant Tina Sanchez, who, according to the federal court and the probation office, tested positive for methamphetamine in August of this year, or in July of this year? It can't be. Is this some sort of double standard? So what's really going on here? Was Patrick Alvarez, was his employment discontinued with the government of Guam because of a double standard involving drugs? Or was it retaliation? Or is the official line going to be that there wasn't enough money at Gita? But this sure does smell pretty fishy. And, you know, there's, this is not the only case of a federal cooperating defendant or witness in the Tenorio corruption case who has had a government of Guam job and who has lost that job since discovery was disclosed in the Tenorio corruption case. And I wish I could tell you about the other one, because the other one is really, really bad. It's just an awful story. Awful. But this family, they don't want this story. They just want to cut their losses. They don't want any more trouble with the administration, with Josh Tenorio and the gang. They just want to cut their losses and move on with whatever little bit of life they have left. But this is what's happening, my dear friends. And as we get closer and closer to the trial and to the day that the jury finds not guilty or whatever the case may be, I think we're going to be seeing a whole lot of what appears to be retaliation by this administration against the people who speak up against this administration, and specifically against the people who are believed to be threats to the Tenorio campaign for governor and Charissa Tenorio's freedom. For Kandit News, I am Troy Torres. You all have a wonderful evening. God bless you, and I love you all, as always.
We got that dynamite. We got that dynamite.
Find the perfect ride for you today with the New Year New Ride sales event at Guam Auto Spot. Get behind the wheel of the 2024 Outlander Sport, starting at just $22,995 or only $156 per paycheck. Visit GuamAutospot.com or call 671-478-AUTO.
Buy fuel, get Wendy's. Drive to your nearest 76 Circle K and get free Wendy's. Yes, free. Fuel up with $30 and score your choice of a 6-piece crispy chicken nuggets or a juicy junior cheeseburger deluxe. Fresh, hot, and packed with flavor. But hurry, quantities are limited and this delicious deal won't last long. So hit the road to 76 Circle K, fuel up, and get Wendy's free before it's gone.
Dare to try? Something new? Life's too short!
You gotta chill with a snackable drink.
Life is too short. Hey, you gotta chill.
Mogu Mogu.
Moku moku!